A basic axiom of astrology is that the microcosm is a replica of the macrocosm. A human being is a miniature solar system. Each planet represents specific functions and faculties within a person. A planet's condition and capacity to function is affected by sign placement, house placement, and aspects from other planets. A planet will influence the areas of life associated with the signs and houses it is located in, and also the areas of life associated with other planets it forms aspects to. The sun is the king, father, boss, power, authority. It's about confidence, dignity, leadership, pride, identity, self-expression, career, vitality, will, fire, heat, heart. It rules Leo. It's exalted in Aries and it falls in Libra. The moon is the queen, mother. It's about women caring, to nurture, feeling, emotions, home, family, past, instinctive reactions, basic perceptions, mind or basic consciousness, subject or object, water, cool, moist, breast, stomach, nourishment. It rules Cancer, exalted in Taurus, falls in Scorpio. Its complete zodiac cycle is approximately 28 days. Mercury, the messenger, child, youth, communicator, learning, education, intellect, analysis, curiosity, versatility, mobility, travel, variety, detail, information, data, news, wit, dexterity, skill, cleverness, mimic. Airy, winged god, arms, hands, fingers, little fingers, rules Gemini and Virgo, exalted in Virgo and falls in Pisces. Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, relationship, social life, friendship, romance, marriage, harmony, art, balance, and proportion, ease, grace, comfort, sensuality, affection, moist, rich, and fertile. Taurus, kidneys, bladder, sexual organs, rules Taurus and Libra, exalted in Pisces and falls in Virgo. Mars, god of war, aggression, masculine, self-assertion, ego, drive and desire, action, athletic, will, force, conflict, courage, daring, impulsive, cutting surgery, reckless, penetrating, hot, dry, muscular system. Sexual organs, Scorpio, blood, rules Aries and Scorpio, exalted in Capricorn, falls in Cancer. Jupiter, mythological king of the gods, largest planet, guru, religion, philosophy, knowledge, learning, and wisdom, morality, justice, law, faith, optimism, expansion, travel, inclusiveness, good fortune, abundance, realization, healing. Bodily bulk, fat, liver, rules Sagittarius and Pisces, exalted in Cancer and falls in Capricorn. Saturn, Kronos, god of time, grim reaper, old age, debility, lethargy, inertia, fear, loss, death, elders, father, structure, form, limitation, duty, career, heights, falls. Practicality, agriculture, mining, patience, discipline, diligence, dry, cold, airy, skin, bones, teeth. Legs, rules Capricorn and Aquarius, exalted in Libra, falls in Aries. Uranus, mythological sky god, astronomy, astrology, aviation, science, technology, freedom, experimentation, progressive, modern, exciting, unconventional, rebellious, volatile, sudden, shocking, liberating. Neptune, God of the ocean, emotional sensitivity, impressionability, surrender, spiritual, vulnerability, poor boundaries, allergies, infections, weakness, victim savior, addictions, drugs, escapism, fantasy, art, compassion, sacrifice, selflessness, idealism, disillusionment, confusion, associated with Pisces in modern Western astrology. Pluto, mythological god of the underworld, primal energies and processes, ruthlessness, wielding power, coercion, control, death, rebirth, transformation, regeneration, healing, purpose, focus, intensity, obsessive, transpersonal, messianic, fanatical. The astrological chart is actually a representation of our solar system at any given moment in time, and also how the Earth is placed at the center of the chart. Now we are going to learn about houses and how they add to a chart overall meaning. Houses act as a framework which help define the individual nature of each chart. Houses are vital to chart analysis, contributing about 50% to a chart's meaning. In this view of the heavens, we are looking down at the North Pole of the Earth as it rotates within the context of the zodiac signs. You can see that the zodiac signs constitute a relatively fixed backdrop through which all orbiting bodies move. Early astrologers recognized that a person's geographic location on the Earth must be taken into account. To do this, they devised a system of houses. According to the house system, the point in the heavens directly above an individual is known as the midheaven, indicated by the letters MC, from the Latin medium caeli, meaning middle of the heavens. The point at the eastern horizon is called the ascendant because it is the point which is rising or ascending from the horizon as the earth turns. From these 2 points are extrapolated the rest of the houses numbering 1 through 12. Just as there are 12 zodiac signs, there are also 12 houses. The meanings contained in the houses are very similar to those contained in the zodiac signs. The first zodiac sign, Aries, for instance, conveys individuality, originality, self-awareness, and boldness. The first house conveys approximately the same meaning. The second house corresponds to the second zodiac sign, Taurus, conveying security, consciousness, adherence to a value system, and a craving for stability. The third house corresponds to the third zodiac sign, Gemini, which imparts communication, skills, talkativeness, and adaptability. The pattern continues through the rest of the signs and houses. The main difference between houses and signs is that houses move with the earth, while the zodiac signs do not. As the earth rotates on its axis, it changes. The position of the houses in the relation to the zodiac signs underneath the houses can be thought of as a personalized version of the zodiac, which is superimposed over the actual zodiac. The two systems overlap one another, creating an ever-changing kaleidoscope of endless combinations. Houses bring a personalized dimension to the birth chart, making each chart totally unique. The placement of the houses depends on the time of day an event occurs. If this were a natal chart, for example, we would take a freeze frame of the heavens at the time of birth. In our example, this individual's midheaven is Sagittarius and the ascendant is Pisces, because a chart can occur at any point in a 24-hour period. A house will often include portions of 2 zodiac signs. This individual's 11th house, for example, contains a portion of the sign Capricorn and a portion of the sign Aquarius. Houses 1 through 6 are the personal houses. Houses 7 through 12 are the collective houses. Houses 1, 2, and 3 is about self-development. 4, 5, and 6 is about self-expression. Houses 7, 8, and 9 is about self-expansion. And 10, 11, 12 are about self-transcendence. The first house is in Aries, which is about self-awareness, viewpoint, personality, physical energy, independence, self-confidence, assertiveness, appearance, approach to life, aspirations, physical body, and new beginnings. The second house is in Taurus, which is about self-reliance, affluence, resources, finances, wealth, talents, values, self-worth, possession, material values, sensual and pleasures. The third house is in Gemini. It's about communication, rational mind, intelligence, thoughts, ideas, writing, environment, siblings, and neighbors. The fourth house is in Cancer. It's about feelings, nurturing others, affection, emotional security, home and family, past, land, traditions, and privacy. The fifth house is in Leo, and it's about self-expression, passion, creativity, playing, romance, pleasure, fun, excitement, children, art, entertainment, and startups. The sixth house is in Virgo, and it's about self-improvement, crafts, environment, service, helping others improve, habits, charity, routine, work, health, diet, and skills. The seventh house is in Libra, relationships, marriage, agreements, justice, balance, harmony, fairness, and one-on-one relationships, cooperation, legal matters, business, and agreements. The eighth house is in Scorpio, and it's about healing, regeneration, what is hidden, the depth of life, acceptance, deep connections, others, resources, endings, and beginnings. The ninth house is in Sagittarius, exploring, purpose, adventure, optimism, freedom, wisdom, teaching, open-minded, philosophy, higher learning, travel, gurus, publishing, and broadcasting. The 10th house is in Capricorn, and it's about legacy, life's work, public life, commitment, determination, dedication, responsibility, mastery, maturity, discipline, career, public image, achievements, authorities, and expertise. The 11th house is in Aquarius, and it's about groups, community, causes, contribution, ideals, visions, aspirations, friends, networks, values, and organizations. And the 12th house is in Pisces, and it's about inner peace, connectedness, intuition, presence, mindfulness, faith, empathy, compassion, connection with God, meditation, dreams, isolation, spirituality, unresolved issues, and psychic abilities. The first house is I am, awareness of self, appearance, outward personality. The second house is I have, personal resources, money, possessions, values, skills. The third house is I think, immediate environment, mental activity, learning, siblings, communication. The fourth house is I nurture, inner world, home, parents, roots, inner security. The fifth house is I serve, personal creativity, romance, children, fun, creativity. The sixth house is I serve, daily life, work, health, service, self-improvement. The seventh house is I partner, awareness of others, marriage and other partnerships. The eighth house is I circulate, shared resources, sex, death, letting go, regeneration, other people's money sharing. The ninth house is I explore, expanded horizons, higher education, philosophy, publishing, religion, travel, law. The 10th house is I achieve, outer world, career, status, reputation, vocational purpose, taking power. The 11th house is I aspire, group contribution, friends, groups, goals, aspirations. The 12th house is I dream, spiritual life, solitude, institutions, transcendence, and self-sabotage. Zodiac is a circle, and like other circles, there are 360 degrees. In that circle, the 12 signs of the zodiac are a division of that 360-degree circle and a specific level of accuracy. Now, the groupings of the signs, this is the most important aspect of this course, because the groupings of the signs enable us to spot some of the most important geometric connections between planets in a birth chart quite quickly. Though if we know these groupings very well, we can easily work with the aspects. So any amount of effort you put into familiarizing yourself with these groupings will be very valuable. It will make working with aspects, which is a really important part of a strategy, a lot easier. So the first grouping, and probably the most well-known one, is the division of the 12 signs into the 4 elements: fire, earth, air, and water. The fire signs are Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. And you know, fire signs are supposed to be quite energetic. Fire as an element represents a type of spontaneity. Fire is lively. It represents an enthusiastic quality, and it could be described as emotional, but not in a sense of being sensitive. An emotion more like being passionate, perhaps inspired, enthused. So fire is a very free element. There's a lot of honesty and authenticity in fire. It's just a very open and direct fire. Doesn't conceal things, and actually, if anything, reveals them. It creates light. The earth signs are Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, and the earth element, as one would assume, is associated with things that are practical, things that are quite concrete. And the earth element is very solid, very gradual. It can provide a foundation, but it can also represent some inertia. The air signs are Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius, and the air element is typically associated with communication. So that air element also is associated with a mental focus or a mental way of doing things. So there's a strong social and communicative quality to the air element. Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, these are the water signs. And water is associated with sensitivity, with feeling. You would call emotion, except that it's not usually the type of lively, fiery emotion. It's more but sensitivity and receptivity. The earth and the water signs are drawn here in green, which is a cool color to feminine quality, that the earth and water signs are feminine, whereas the fire and air signs are masculine. So the earth signs tend to be relatively more introverted, and the fire and air signs are more open and active. All right, now you can see that the signs are divided into masculine and feminine. You can see how this forms 2 hexagons. Here is an overview of the major aspects, starting with conjunction, which means that there are 2 planets in the same sign, 0 degrees. So that's this up here, this sign on top. And the next one is opposition, which means that they're directly opposite from one another. 2 planets are directly opposite, 180 degrees in separation. So that's this one here on top, directly opposite, is here in the bottom, which is 180 degrees. The next one is square. So it's the same modality, but not in opposition. So that's 90 degrees. So here's the square, and it's in 90 degrees apart from the one on top here, this symbol on top of that specific planet. The next one is the trine, and that means that the planets are within the same elements when they're 120 degrees apart from one another. So here's the trine, and it's 120 degrees apart from this planet on top. And the next one is a sextile. So that's the similar element, but not in opposition. So they're 60 degrees apart from one another. They're 60 degrees. So that's this one here, the sextile, with the top planet here. This is what they mean. Conjunction, 0 degrees of separation, and they're merging and blending of energies. Sextile is 60 degrees of separation, cheer, leading, creating opportunity. The square is 90 degrees separation, challenging. The energies work at cross purposes. Trine, 120 degrees of separations. Well, that's about flow, easy agreement, and communications. The quincunx, 150 degrees of separation, is the energies require constant adjustment. And opposition is 180 degrees of separation. There is a tug of war that needs some give and take. And now we're going to talk about cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. Zodiac sign qualities refer to the different stages in the year's seasonal cycle. Cardinal zodiac signs start a season, fixed zodiac signs embody each season fully, and mutable zodiac signs conclude each season and help to transition us into the next one. Patterns in a horoscope. Each of the 12 signs is categorized not only by element but also by quality, respectively named the cardinal, fixed, immutable, or common qualities. In the individual horoscope, the placement of planets in cardinal, fixed, or mutable signs also reveals basic traits of the personality. This gives us 12 quite different basic types. These varying qualities provide the backdrop to the planetary positions. As each horoscope has different planets in different signs, there can never be a pure Aries or a pure Gemini. Each horoscope is a highly individual, very complex, and usually also very varied combination of parts. And this is how it looks like when it's separated by elements, cardinal, fixed, and mutable signs. So for the fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, Aries is a cardinal sign, Leo is a fixed sign, Sagittarius mutable. For the earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn is cardinal, Taurus fixed, Virgo mutable. For the air signs, Libra, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra cardinal, Aquarius fixed, Gemini mutable. Water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, Cancer is cardinal, Scorpio's fixed, Pisces mutable. So again, cardinal is the beginning of the season, fixed is the middle season, and mutable is towards the end of the season, and it's divided by each of the elements. So cardinal is basically saying, hey, let's start something. I have an idea for a business. Mutable is basically saying, ugh, here we go again, gathers information, processes it, and organizes the chaos. And fixed signs finds a groove and seeks to build a foundation and a legacy with staying power. And this is how it looks like for the cardinal squares, mutable squares, and fixed squares. Cardinal squares being Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. Mutable squares, Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. And fixed squares, Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius.
Hello my loves and welcome back to my channel. Today's video we're going to be talking about how to read and decipher a natal chart, which is also known as your birth chart. This is a snapshot of where all the different planets were when you were born, and within reading this you can discover so much about yourself, your personality, your skills and talents, even skills and talents that you didn't even realize that you had. You can learn so much about the different challenges or conflicts that you might have in your life and how you can bring ease to them and all of that different stuff. Reading your natal chart can reveal so much about you, and I'm so excited to show you how to read this. Even if you are a complete beginner and you have no idea what you're looking at, I'm going to show you all of the basics and how you can begin to read this in depth. Most people who've heard of astrology before know their sun sign, and they might be like, oh, I was born on like June 1st, I am a Gemini, or I was born on September 8th, I am a Virgo. But some people don't know that you actually have multiple zodiac signs. So your sun sign is what most people are referring to when they're talking about their zodiac sign. But they actually also have a Mercury sign, a Venus sign, a Mars sign, Jupiter, Saturn. All of the different planets were in different places at the time that you were born, and almost nobody on this planet has the same birth chart unless they were born on the same day, the same year, the same month, at the same time, in the same city. Even if you're born at the exact same time as somebody else, but you're born in a different city, your chart's going to be entirely different. Or if you were even born 10 minutes after someone, so for example, twins. If you have a twin, but one twin was born 10 minutes prior prior, your chart might be entirely different than that person because the constellations, like the ecliptic is always moving, our Earth is always spinning, and there's always different constellations in different places, and then that changes the entire natal chart. So your natal chart is like your fingerprint. It is unique to you and reveals so much about you. And even the people that tend to not really believe in astrology at first, once you get a really good astrologer to read their natal chart, most people's minds are blown because it's just so detailed and so accurate and so specific to that person that nobody else would really relate to that because it's so detailed. So let's dive into natal astrology. The first thing that I want to talk about is some people think that their astrology is their destiny. When they see a negative thing in their chart, they feel like they're bound to that. But I really want to let you know that your astrology, anything within your astrology, is just your autopilot state. So your natal chart, this is just a fingerprint and blueprint of your autopilot energy. But we all have free will, and you can take, your natal chart and learn from it and say, oh, I have this negative aspect. I can just be aware of that, but now I can change it. Now I can use my own willpower, my own conscious awareness to shift that, to learn from it, to change it. And your astrology, even those negative aspects, they are there for a positive reason. Every negative thing that we go through in life brings us growth and learning. And it's all part of your soul's divine destiny to go through those things for the evolution of your soul so that you can unlock more of your purpose, who you're meant to be, and the different lessons and things that you're meant to learn from so that you can become that ultimate version of yourself. So natal chart, natal astrology, all of astrology just helps us uncover more of that. So if you look at your chart and you're like, oh no, I have this negative aspect, don't worry, you're not bound by that. You're still good to go. All the negative things are actually positive things at the end of the day. And again, you have free will. So let's dive into the astrology and learn more about your autopilot state, how you can read your natal astrology and discover more about yourself, your soul's purpose, and your reason for being here, and all the different aspects that makes you you. So in order to calculate your birth chart, you're gonna need to know the exact date that you were born. So the month, the year, and the exact day. And then you're also gonna wanna know the exact time down to the minute that you were born and the city that you were born in. If you do not know the exact time or the exact city that you're born in for whatever reason, you can still calculate some things within your natal chart and they will still reveal a lot about you. And I'll have timestamps linked down below with little descriptions of like, oh, focus on this part if you don't know your exact time or whatever, because other parts of this video are gonna be irrelevant to you if you don't know your exact time, because then you're not gonna be able to know your house system and your ascendant sign and your midheaven sign. I always say midheaven. And next, you're gonna need something to actually calculate this for you, unless you wanna do it by hand, which ancient astrologers used to do that, but you can either go to a website such as astro.com. Astro.com, you can look at your natal chart for free and it'll calculate it for you and give you that beautiful wheel with all the different signs and symbols on it. Personally, the app that I love, and if you want to take astrology more seriously, I would highly recommend downloading the app Astro Gold. It is top tier in my opinion. It is so accurate and it has all the symbols and asteroids. You can even look at different asteroids in the galaxy and other different celestial bodies. Downloading an app like that can be really beneficial, but you do need to pay money for that app. I think it's like $50. For me, it's worth it, but then again, I look at astrology all the time, so it's worth it for me, but there is also free resources. I'll have some linked down below, such as astro.com, that you can check out to look at your natal chart. So when you first pull up your natal chart, your birth chart, you're gonna see this wheel, and what you're looking at when you're looking at this wheel is the Earth. Imagine the Earth in the center, and then the horizon or horizontal line that you have going through it, that's the horizon line. So imagine you were standing on the exact place and spot that you were born, that's the horizon line, and you're looking at the sky. So the sky is that northern hemisphere of the chart, and then below the Earth is that southern hemisphere of the chart. So the sun within the natal chart, within astrology, the sun will actually rise on the left hemisphere of the chart. So that is the eastern hemisphere of the chart. And then it's going to set in the right hemisphere of the chart and then go below the earth. So that is what you're looking at when you're looking at this chart. Imagine you're standing at the center from the exact spot that you were born at the exact time. This is where all the planets were along the ecliptic. So that wheel that goes around it with all the different symbols, those are the zodiac symbols around it. And that is where the constellations are, which is called our ecliptic. It's the path of the sun and the moon. And then all the symbols on the inside of it, those are the scattered planets and where they were. And then you'll notice that this whole wheel is divided up into 12 sections. And these 12 sections are known as the 12 houses in astrology, and they represent different aspects of our life. Again, if you don't know your time that you're born, the houses are irrelevant. Don't pay attention to those because those aren't going to be accurate for you. But if you do know your time and you do know the place that you were born, the housing system is going to show the different areas of your life. And depending where your planets are scattered and which zodiac signs you have where is going to determine how those different areas of your life are being expressed and the different energies that you have within those areas of your life. So that's what you're looking at. I'm also going to have a free PDF linked down below that you can download for absolutely free. There's explanations of the zodiac signs, there's explanations of the planets and their meanings and their symbols, and there's explanations of the houses and their meanings as well. So if you want to download that, that's there for free. It's just a really simple reference sheet that you can reference, especially if you're a beginner. It makes things really easy to follow along with in this video and also begin to decipher your natal chart and somebody else's natal chart. So that is linked down below. So when you're first taking your first glance at this chart, there's a few different things that you can look for to begin to pull some information about that particular birth chart. So if you have most of the planets at the top hemisphere of the chart, this indicates that you're more outward focused, and usually you're more extroverted or focused more on external things. You're usually more in the public eye and you live your life a little bit more extroverted, a little bit more seen, and you're more open. If you're the opposite and you have most of your planets in that lower hemisphere, it indicates that you're more introverted and more inward focused. You're more reflective and probably more private with your life as well. If you have more planets focused on the left hemisphere of the chart, this makes you much more independent and self-focused. So you're really good at doing things on your own. You're kind of just a do-it-yourself type of person and really independent. If you have most of your planets on the right hemisphere of the chart, this indicates that you work better in groups, or you work better when you're with some type of companion, with somebody else, and you like to be more surrounded by other people, or at least having some type of companion to walk through life with. Even if you don't have planets on a certain area of the chart or something like this, if you have an empty space, it does not mean that you lack that quality. I really want to make that clear. If you have a house that's empty with no planets, or if you have a certain hemisphere of the chart that doesn't have any planets, it doesn't mean that you lack the qualities of that area. It just means that most of the time your energy is focused on the areas that are more condensed with planets, but it does not mean that you lack the other side of things. And if you have equal placement of your planets within this chart, that means you have an equal balance of all those different qualities within the different hemispheres of the chart. And if you have 3 or more planets in a particular house, this indicates that you have a stellium. This is where you have a massive amount of energy in one area of your life. So if you have a stellium in your 6th house, you are probably very work focused, work oriented. You like to be of service to others, and you like to feel like you're doing something and being productive. That would indicate that. If you have a house that lacks any planets in it, it doesn't mean that you lack that area of your life, but it indicates that there's not necessarily a huge concentration of energy there for you. However, there's other ways of seeing what's going on within those houses. So if you have a house that's completely empty, if you look at the sign that's on the cusp of that house, that's going to reveal more about how that particular area of your life is unique to you and how it's expressed uniquely in your particular life. So let's say that you have Capricorn on the cusp of the 2nd house. Capricorn is very disciplined. They are very critical thinkers, but they're also incredibly hard workers. Being on the cusp of the 2nd house would indicate that you are very focused, disciplined, and determined with your money. This would indicate that you probably have high goals with your money, high standards when it comes to your money and your self-worth and your savings, because all of that deals with that second house. When you combine the zodiac sign with the house, that's where you get to reveal more about that particular area of your life. Because again, the houses indicate the area of your life. These zodiac signs are how it is being expressed. And then the planets indicate the different aspect of you and what is being expressed within that area of your life. So what's being expressed, how it's being expressed, and the particular area that it's being expressed in. Another thing that you can look at is seeing which zodiac signs are most common throughout the chart. So if you look at the different planets, you'll see that the different planets are in particular zodiac signs for you. And you might have certain zodiac signs that are more common. So you might have like a bunch of Scorpio placements, or you might have a bunch of Leo placements, or so on and so forth. And each zodiac sign corresponds with an element, and it also corresponds with something known as a quality. There's of course 4 different elements. There's water, earth, fire, and air. And there's also 3 different qualities known as fixed, cardinal, and mutable. And each zodiac sign corresponds with one of each of those things. And you can discover a lot about yourself or someone else by looking at the zodiac signs and the different elements and the different qualities of those zodiac signs. So first, I want you to look at which elements are most dominant and prominent within your chart. If you are fire dominant in your chart, meaning you have a lot of Sagittarius, Leo, or Aries, this makes you more outgoing and action-oriented. If you have a lot of earth signs, which are Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, that makes you more practical and realistic. If you have a lot of air signs, known as Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, this makes you more intellectual and people-oriented. If you have a lot of water signs, which are Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces, this makes you very emotional and intuitive. And you might have a mix of some of these. So you might be very air and fire dominant, or maybe you're water and fire dominant, or maybe you have a lot of earth signs, but not a lot of the other signs. Whatever your particular mix is, this is going to reveal a lot about your personality based on which elements are the most dominant for you. Or maybe you have like a very equal mix of all of them, and that just makes you have a lot of each of these aspects within your own personality. And then next, you can take a look at which qualities are dominant within the zodiac signs. So cardinal zodiac signs are Aries, Cancer, Libra, and Capricorn. And you'll notice that those are the signs that are at the beginning of each season. So Aries is the beginning of spring, Cancer is the beginning of summer, Libra is the beginning of fall, and Capricorn is the beginning of winter. These are our cardinal signs. And if you have a bunch of cardinal signs, it means you're very active, self-motivated, ambitious. You are a trendsetter, leader, and an idea creator. The next quality is the fixed quality, which all of my fixed zodiac signs are the ones that are in the middle of each season. So that's Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. Fixed quality type of people, if you have a lot of fixed zodiac signs in your chart, this makes you really determined, consistent, loyal, reliable, patient, and they're very known to carry out their plans. And lastly, we have our mutable signs, which are Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. If you have a lot of the mutable signs in your chart, you are highly adaptable, easygoing, flexible, communicative, and optimistic. So those are our 3 qualities, and depending on which qualities are present the most based on the different zodiac signs that you have, will bring you a lot of those particular types of energies. And next, let's talk about our 4 cardinal angles or anchors within the chart. So of course, we talked about that horizon line that we have, but we also have a vertical line going through the chart. So if you fully split that chart into 4 quadrants, we have a horizontal line and a vertical line. Occasionally, the vertical line will be like slightly altered depending on the different hemispheres of your chart and the different houses and their sizes. You'll notice that some houses have different sizes if you're working with a Placidus chart. There's something also known as a whole house system. So if you're working with a whole house system, it'll make sure that each of the houses are of equal size. And so if you're looking at that and you have all equal sizes, you might be on a whole house system, but you can also work in a Placidus system, and it'll slightly change the sizes of the houses depending on where you were born in the world. And this will all be unique to you and your chart. But you'll notice that the vertical line might be slightly altered. It might be slightly to the left or slightly to the right. But these different lines actually have great symbolism and meaning. So first off, your horizontal line. Over on the left corner of the horizontal line, the zodiac sign that sits there is going to be known as your rising sign. This is your ascendant, because as we talked about earlier, that's the area of the chart that's rising. Those are the constellations that are coming up on the horizon. And then over on the right-hand side of the chart is the constellations that are descending and going below the horizon line. So if you look at your zodiac sign that's right there on that horizon line on the left-hand side, that's going to indicate your ascendant sign or your rising sign. And a lot of people, you'll hear a lot of astrologers talk about like, oh, what's your rising sign? Your rising sign indicates so much about your personality and how you come across. Your rising sign is your external expression in the world. This is how you come across to people right off the bat. It's the face that you wear externally. So a lot of the times when people try to guess your sun sign, if you're like, oh my God, guess what zodiac sign I am? A lot of the times people will actually get it wrong because you actually express more of your rising sign when you meet people for the first time. And it's only when people get to know you on an intimate level that they get to know more of the sun sign that you actually are. But then if we go to the opposite side of our ascendant, we have our descendant. So this is known as the AC/DC line because it's the ascendant and descendant. Your descendant is the zodiac sign that's on the cusp of the 7th house. It is the zodiac sign that was descending on the horizon line when you were born. This represents how you act in relationships. This represents a lot about your close relationships, business partnerships, and long-term friendships, and the qualities that you might look for in a partner, or even the general character in your close relationships and the people that you kind of get along with, or the dynamic that you tend to have in your relationships. And the next thing that I want to talk about is that vertical line. At the top of that vertical line, we have something known as your midheaven, and this represents so much about your purpose, your skills, what your soul is meant for. It can indicate the direction that you want to take in your career, and it also indicates how you perceive status, how you perceive achievement, and how you perceive success in your lifetime. So depending on the zodiac sign that sits on the cusp of your 10th house, known as your midheaven, that zodiac sign is going to reveal how you interpret success. It's also going to show how you want to maybe be seen for your success. So for example, I have Virgo on my midheaven, and Virgo indicates that you like to be of service to other people. You are wanting to heal other people or help other people in some way. A lot of the people that have Virgo over here will want to get into some sort of healing type of career, whether that be healing people through psychology or becoming a doctor or becoming a Reiki healer or doing other things where they're in service to other people. That is that Virgo type of energy. But let's say that you have a Cancer midheaven. That indicates that you want to be a nurturer. And when you're nurturing either yourself or other people, that's where you're feeling most fulfilled. Or let's say that you have a Leo midheaven. That would indicate that you see success as being in the spotlight or being really confident. And that would also indicate that you would be more inclined to a career where you're more in the spotlight or you're being recognized for your skills or talents or accomplishments or the things that you're creating. You want that recognition, and that's how you would perceive success. So depending on what zodiac sign you have on your midheaven shows a lot about your natural inclinations towards different careers, and it will show how you perceive success and what you want to be known for. So what is it that you want to be known for? Look at the zodiac sign and look at the qualities of that zodiac sign, and you're going to reveal a lot about yourself and how you want to be known. So now let's dive into things that are a little bit more complex. We're going to be looking at the planets and the zodiac signs that those planets are in and the houses that they're in. So how do you read that? So as we talked about earlier, the houses represent the area of life that we're talking about. So each house represents a different area of life. The planet within that represents what is being expressed in that area of your life. And then the zodiac sign represents how it is being expressed in that area of your life. So let's say that you have Saturn in the 10th house in the zodiac sign of Virgo. The 10th house is the house of career, achievement, and goals. Saturn is the planet of discipline, willpower, responsibilities. So this would indicate that your responsibilities are being focused in the area of your life of career. And since it's in the zodiac sign of Virgo, that is how that planet is being expressed in that area of your life. So the planet of Saturn of responsibilities and boundaries and discipline is being expressed with the mask of Virgo, which is all about being of service, and it's a little bit more perfectionist and detail oriented. So that would indicate that within your career, you have a lot of responsibility. You put a lot of responsibility on yourself. You are really disciplined and really full of determination, but in a very detail oriented way where you are wanting to be of service to other people and you're very disciplined in doing so. So that's what that would indicate. But let's go ahead and take that planet and take that same zodiac sign, but move it to a different area of your life. So let's put that rather in your 7th house of relationships. So this would indicate that you might have a bit of perfectionism when it comes to the relationships in your life because of that Virgo type of energy. Saturn, it's very committed, it's very responsible. So that would indicate that in your relationships, you are very committed, you are very responsible, but you might also be a little bit picky, detail oriented. You might end up being a little bit controlling in your relationships, but at the same time, you are very dedicated and very committed. So that's how you can see how it would change based on where it is in what house. And next, let's talk about the aspects. So all those little lines that are connecting between the planets, what do they mean? What are they representing? So we have 3 different main good aspects, and then we have 2 different main harder aspects. There's more different aspects than just these 5. However, if you're doing more beginner's astrology, focusing on these 5, these are the main 5 ones that technically kind of matter the most. So let's dive into what these mean and how you can read them. So the first one is a sextile, and this is when 2 planets are about 60 degrees apart from each other. And this brings positive ease and harmony between those 2 planets. A sextile indicates that these 2 planets and the zodiac signs that they're in, they get along, they understand each other, they're feeling good. And you can also see sextiles and the different aspects by the symbols. Some astrology apps and programs show the symbol and some don't, so it kind of just depends on the app that you're using. But if a planet is about 60 degrees apart from another planet, it brings ease, positivity, and harmony. Although it's not as powerful as a trine, which we will get into next. Sextiles are still really positive, but they're a little bit weaker than a trine. So a trine is when a planet is within 120 degrees from another planet, and this creates a more triangle type of angle, and a triangle is the strongest shape. So this is one of the strongest aspects in astrology. It overpowers basically everything. It is the strongest aspect. If you have a lot of trines in your chart, this is very positive because trines bring ease and harmony between 2 planets. It means those 2 planets understand each other and empower each other. Both of those planets that are making that trine to each other, they're both empowering each other because they relate and they support one another. And then the next positive aspect is known as a conjunction, and this is when 2 planets are within 10 degrees of each other, so they're basically like right next to each other, and they amplify each other's energy. When you have 2 planets in conjunction, this is amplifying the energy of both of those planets in a very positive way. The 2 hard aspects are squares and oppositions. Squares are when a planet is within 90 degrees or like about 90 degrees apart from the other planet. This is creating a square energy. Squares are when 2 planets are not really getting along. It's kind of creating a little bit of a harder type of aspect between those 2 planets. This creates tension, challenge, and possible obstacles, but it also does create learning and growth. So I don't want you to see like any hard aspect and be like, oh my God, no, I have these hard aspects in my chart. That means my life's gonna be hard. It does not mean that, because you can learn these different lessons very quickly if you want to. And with conscious awareness, you can actually see how your soul wanted to evolve this lifetime, because all the challenges that we have in our life are here for our soul's evolution. So when you're looking at the different squares and oppositions that you might have in your chart, and you're looking at those hard aspects, they reveal a lot about what you came here to learn and how you came here to grow. And those growths and those learnings can eventually become your strengths. But again, that square, it does create a little bit more of that tension, a little bit more of those challenge type of energies. And then there's something known as an opposition, and this is when two planets are opposite one another. So it's at 180 degrees from each other. These are really easy to spot because again, they're at the opposite ends of the chart and they are opposing one another. This is when two planets are kind of having a face-off and they don't really get along because they're pulling in two opposite directions. They're energies that are completely opposite one another. So this does create a little bit of tension within a chart and a little bit of opposition, but these are also great learning opportunities as well. So for example, let's say that you have the sun in the 10th house, but let's say you have Venus in the 4th house. This would create an opposition because your sun in the 10th house wants to focus on career and is like, oh my God, I'm thriving. My soul feels amazing here. But then if we have Venus in the 4th house, that means our love and everything that makes us feel emotion, love, beauty, and money is resting in the 4th house. That means we're feeling very abundant. We put a lot of value on our family foundation, but it's opposing our soul, which is wanting to move in the career direction. So you might notice that you have an opposition with balancing both of those things, but this is again part of your learning this lifetime, and this is just helping you learn and grow. So if you have those oppositions, it's an area of your life that you may need to look at to find balance because you have two energies pulling in the opposite direction. And if you can balance this, then again, that leads to your growth and your evolution. So that is the basics of aspects when you're looking at the aspects and reading them, and that is how you can read them. There's also another really important thing that I want to talk about for the last aspect of this. This is looking at your north and south node. You're going to see this on your chart because they're represented by these two symbols. Your north node represents your soul's calling this lifetime, where your soul wants to move to. These are calculated points that represent eclipses actually, and they are just mathematical placements. So they're not actually like a celestial body out there in the sky, but the north node, it represents where your soul wants to go this lifetime, what it wants to move towards, its calling. Whereas your south node represents your past life, what you've already mastered and what you've already come from. A lot of us will notice that we're really good in the area of our life. So the zodiac sign and the house that your south node is in, that's usually an area of your life that you can learn very quickly, very easily. You feel comfortable there because you've already mastered it and you're already familiar with it because it's your past life and it represents your past. But the north node is what your soul wants to move towards in the future. So it might be an area where it's like, oh, I have to get out of my comfort zone to move towards that, or I have a calling for that particular area, or to learn more about that particular thing this lifetime. So your north and south node, that is what they represent, and you can find them within your birth chart as well. And that brings us to the end of today's video, all about the basics of how to read a birth chart, what you're looking at, and how you can begin to decipher it. I hope you enjoyed today's video as much as I enjoyed recording it for you. There's going to be so much more astrology content about how to read different things. We're going to be doing a video on how to read composite astrology. So when you're looking at two different people's birth charts, and when you add those together, you can look at the relationship between those two people. So I'm going to be doing a video on that in the future, as well as other different things like predictive astrology and looking at different transits that are coming up and how they're going to be affecting you, and also how you can look at your monthly astrology, your yearly astrology, and all that type of stuff. So if you do want to see all of that, definitely hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!
What's up?
Yeah, I just called to ask you a few questions.
Oh, really?
There's some things that I had on my mind for a long time, and I need to know the answers to.
Okay.
Is that alright with you?
Yes.
Cool. Hey baby, am I the only one that makes you lose your mind? Huh?
Yes, baby.
Hey baby, am I the one you want to fuck all the time? Huh?
Yes, baby.
And hey baby, am I the one that makes you cream your panties every day? Huh?
Oh, yes, baby.
Well, I must be the one that makes you masturbate and wanna play and play.
Yes, baby. Oh, baby, you're my only man. I gotta make you understand. I don't wanna fuck with you. There's so many things I wanna do to you. Oh, I love you so much. I don't know what to do. I love you so much. I don't know what to do.
Hey baby, is my love making strong and legit? Huh?
Yes, baby.
And do you think that I'm the one you wanna spend the rest of your life with? Huh?
Yes, baby.
Well baby, do you still get horny and wet every time we go out? Huh?
Oh, yes, baby.
And am I the one all your girlfriends keep bragging about? Huh?
Yes, baby. Baby, you know you're the shit. Can't nobody in this world fuck with you, baby. You know that you're my only one. Come over here and make me come and come. Oh, I love you so much. I don't know what to do. I love you so much. I don't know what to do.
She loves me.
Oh,
Do you shot, we go. Sit down, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. Then do it, shot, beat it. Sit down, pass out, then do it, beat it. Pass out, it shot, we go. Sit down, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. Then do it, shot, beat it. Sit down, pass out, then do it, beat it. Pass out, it shot, we go. Sit down, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it, beat it. I guess we should situate the eclipses in that context because this eclipse series actually started 1 year ago in the, what was it, September of 2024 when we had our first eclipse in Pisces. Then we had a Virgo eclipse in March, which is the next step into that series. And this is the first time that we get the full set of eclipses in Pisces and Virgo. But for some people, what we're in then is the next phase in a sequence and an unfolding of events that started last fall or 1 year ago during the first eclipse in Pisces that's now going to accelerate into the next phase here under this eclipse.
Yeah, and so this being the first eclipse season where we get a Pisces and a Virgo right next to each other, will make whatever the themes that you've noted over the last year, whatever themes seem to have been connected with the nodes having ingressed into Pisces and Virgo, and one eclipse here and one eclipse there. This should make it super obvious, both for the collective as well as for individuals. This is our first like full no holds barred Pisces Virgo eclipse season.
Yeah, and this is also then the first time that you'll see that dynamic that's so unique with eclipses where you have two houses being activated in the chart that are diametrically opposite and therefore usually are completely separate parts of the life, but all of a sudden you have these major beginnings and endings that start happening in both areas that sometimes tie them together in unique ways when those two houses aren't normally connected. So for example, like in this chart that I just have up this random time, the eclipse is taking place in the fourth house of the home and the living situation and the 10th house of career. And normally those would be separate areas, but for some people, having them take place in those two houses, they're going to have some major changes at home that may be tied in with major changes that are happening in their career, where, for example, like you get a new job, but it forces you to move across the country, or vice versa, where you have some major change at home with your living situation or your parents that necessitates a change in terms of your job and your career.
Yeah. Yeah, one forces the other, forces the other, forces the other. You get a feedback loop between the nodes and between the eclipses. And
Yeah.
again, like that started a year ago, but we haven't had a chance to see it really clearly just operating one after another like we will this month.
Yeah, like a year ago it was the Pisces house, then in March it was the Virgo house, and now it's both. Can we quickly run through the other houses? Because you had some good ones recently when we went through the oppositional pairs of houses. So, first house and seventh house, for example, you see people going through major changes with relationships versus their self-identity. And so, for example, sometimes it's like you have a relationship ending that your identity was very tied up in. So then all of a sudden you have to like re-identify or redevelop your sense of self and who you are outside of relationships.
Right. Or I'm going through these changes. I'm finding out that like I've discovered this person that I am absolutely becoming, and I'm not sure how to reconcile this person I'm becoming with my relationship, right? And it throws the two into dialogue and potentially crisis. And some of the serpentine or draconic symbolism is useful here when you think of snakes shedding skin, right? And
Mm,
having to go through, like having to go through a very uncomfortable, yeah, an uncomfortable and sometimes paralyzing or immobilizing period of renewal, where there are like changes happening within, you don't exactly understand it, but you need to crawl into a hole and shed the skin.
absolutely. And sometimes the changes are actually happening with your partner, like they're going through some
Hmm.
major transformative changes, but then somehow that has this indirect effect of you having to think about, your own identity and challenging your sense of self. Like, there was a couple of people actually recently that had examples of like first house, seventh house activations where one of them, their partner, they were in a lesbian relationship, and then their partner transitioned and became trans, and then it caused this like self-identity conflict with the person because they'd always been in a same-sex relationship and now they weren't, and going through a process with
Hmm.
that. And it was a really interesting, like unique manifestation of that. But there's many different like combinations of how changes with your partner can sometimes then affect you and your sense of self-identity.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, um, you have that teeter totter in the seventh in all the houses, but it's so clear in the seventh and first.
Absolutely. All right. So then the second house and the eighth house often ends up being the material and financial axis, where sometimes there can be like a change in your partner's finances where, let's say, they lose a job or maybe they get a new job, and then that indirectly impacts your finances if you start thinking about how you make money and what your financial situation is, and if you should work as much, if they're making all the money, or in some instances, if they lose a job and suddenly you have to pick up the slack by bringing in more income.
Yeah, absolutely. Like the teeter totter, but bars of gold are being stacked on both sides, rather than human bodies. Also, I see a lot of debt and inheritance. I see people
Yeah.
go like be like, oh, I need some money, so I'm going to borrow a lot of it, which is connecting the second and eighth, or a period where, oh, I'm finally going to pay off all that debt, as well as inheritance, right? Which is it was somebody else's eighth, but now it moves over to mine second.
Yeah, absolutely. The inheritance is like one of the most clear ways that there can be like a transfer from eighth house showing up of other people's resources or money, and second house and your own.
Yeah, that and literally paying your taxes is a second eighth house transfer that goes the other way that we all should be doing.
Yeah, should be doing. Alternatively, when you're not doing it and you get in trouble, that is one way that it can get activated as well.
Well, the I am terrified of the imagined consequences of not paying my taxes exactly. So I'm always very excited to give the government money.
Nice. As I think that's a shared experience we can
It's
all
it's it's my
relate.
don't hurt me, bro payment.
Right. All right, so that's the second house. Eighth house. Moving on, the next combination is the third house and the ninth house, where
Yeah.
sometimes you can go through some major transformations in terms of your education or your beliefs about the world, which can be like religious, but it can also be like political or other things like that. And sometimes that can impact like the way that you talk to other people or the way you communicate in the world in general.
Yeah, that's yeah, like the big shifts in perspective that we see in the eighth being tied into how you talk about things, who you hang out with, et cetera, is a big third ninth thing. Another third ninth thing that I see, I have nodes in the third ninth, and I'm having my opposition in third ninth now with these, is how prioritized short-term projects, like what's the weekly schedule look like, what am I going to get done this month, third house, versus like long-term big projects. Ninth is like, what do I want to accomplish before I ninth is like bucket list, or what do I want to accomplish before my second Saturn return, those that kind of planning and aspiration where you look to the horizon of, from whatever age you are, you look to the horizon, you're like, well, when you're a teenager, by the time I'm 30, I would like to. And so a shifting of priorities is something that you often see with eclipses in third, ninth. We're like, oh, I've been dreaming about this long-term stuff, but really I need to get to work on this third house stuff. Or like I've been too much caught up in the mix and the rat race, and I need to like reaffix my eyes to the horizon and think about long-term goals, which of course will mean that you're going to do short-term daily prioritization differently. But that, like, those two time frames of aspiration and goal orientation is a huge thing I see with third and ninth.
Absolutely. Yeah. There can also just be, this is the mobility axis, both with long distance travel with the
Yep.
ninth house, as well as interaction with foreign countries and for people from foreign places compared to what you grew up with, and the third house and getting around your local environment, including your neighborhood and your city, and how sometimes there can be changes happening with both of those, which can indicate like taking a major trip abroad, or sometimes major changes in terms of your ability, your mobility, and your ability to get around your home city.
Yeah, totally.
All right. Two more axes. One of them is the fifth house, 11th house. And you actually had a good one for this last month, but I had an example of this that somebody had for me recently where they started attending new groups and making new friends using it like a hobby that they were interested in, and they started like attending conferences and local meetings related to that hobby. But then all of a sudden they met somebody that they got into a romantic relationship with that started as kind of like a low level fling, activating the fifth house, and then turned into like a broader like romantic thing.
That's nice. Yeah, the one of the things I noticed, like, I don't know, a decade ago with fifth, 11th, is for people who are creative professionals or aspiring creative professionals, or even outside of that. Like the fifth house is the stuff that you create, and the 11th house is the people that can see it. And so the
Mm,
11th has a lot to do with audience. And the fifth is what you're making, right? Which those two, of course, are not the same thing, but are intimately tied together. And I've read charts for a bunch of creative professionals where, like, during, for example, during one set of eclipses, this was North Node 5th, South Node 11th. They're like, oh, I need to go into hiding and remove myself from my audience so that I can work on a thing so that I have something for them. Right. And then I've also seen the converse many times where it's like, oh, I need to stop hiding from people and just working on something. And I need to let people see what I've been spending all of my creative energy on. Um,
Definitely. Definitely. And then, primary significations and most literal of the fifth house is children, as well as sometimes topics related to sex and sexuality. And then the 11th house is the house of friends and groups, and just major beginnings and major endings in both of those areas can just come up in different ways, sometimes independently when you have eclipses in that axis, and sometimes in ways that cross over in like interesting ways. Like there was one person I talked to months ago where their child, I think, graduated from school, but all of their friends were connected with like their kids like friend group or something like that. So it was going to completely change the social dynamic of the person and the type of social circles they were moving in because of this ending of one chapter in their child's life and the beginning of another.
I'm really glad you brought that up because that's such a thing. Like, having recently become a parent, I mean, last year, right? Um, the degree to which that changes your 11th house, like somebody's like, hey, do you want to meet up for lunch? I was like, no, we don't have a babysitter. You can come over, right? And we
Mm,
can hang out, but like I'm watching Lucian. Um
right.
like I no, I can't do that. And then suddenly your friends that already have kids become much more interesting because you're like, oh my God, you know how to do this. Like how to like the your social orientation has to change when you have children, and that's really interesting to think about it on the other side, right? Oh, the kids are off to college, and now you have to reorient again. But yeah, the fifth and 11th being opposing but deeply intertwined on that child friends axis is that's a great call.
Yeah, absolutely. So, major beginnings and major endings when it comes to friends and friendship, and major beginnings and endings when it comes to children can often be a major topic of eclipses in those houses. And finally, we move on to the last axis, which is when eclipses fall in the sixth house, 12th house axis. And for me, this is primarily the health axis, where I especially see the sixth house pertaining to physical health and things that it takes to maintain your physical health or to fix things when something goes wrong with your physical health. Whereas the 12th house especially pertains to mental health and what it takes when sometimes you're going through a period of bad mental health versus other periods where you're focusing on that area more and you're trying to expend more effort to improve your mental health for some reason, such as like, starting to see a therapist or something like that. But having major beginnings and major endings when it comes to that axis can be common.
Yeah. So yeah, I also do physical and mental health for sixth and 12th. I also do one thing I also see is especially with eclipses, there is um, visible versus concrete, or excuse me, invisible versus visible problems, or concrete versus abstract problems, which often coincides with physical and mental, but is not exactly the same. Like sometimes, like I've seen people who've been suffering from a physical ailment that was undiagnosable. Then, when the sixth house is pinged, it moves from the 12th, where it was like this nebulous affliction, to being a very clear thing. And then I also see people dealing with a physical thing, right? Like I keep having this problem with my foot, and then and having an aha moment where they're like, oh, actually, I keep hitting my foot because of this let's say, mental or emotional pattern, like, oh, it's because I keep doing this thing for these reasons, I don't know, connected to this thing that happened when I was 5, and that's why this physical thing keeps happening. But things
Mhm.
exchanging between the like the clear physical and diagnosable and the mysterious or mentally or spiritually caused, but like things pinging back and forth between those two.
I love that. Yeah, that's perfect. Let's see. Other things, the 12th house is also, it can be traditionally enemies or people that you don't get along with, where sometimes there's just people in your life that either you don't get along with for whatever reason, or sometimes people that actively try to do something that's harmful for you, and going into a new chapter of like beginning some major turning point with respect to that, or sometimes ending something that's taken place there. And conversely, the 12th house can be your workplace and dealing with things in
Hmm.
your workplace as a major beginning or ending. Sometimes when those are tied together, it can be like somebody you're not getting along with in the workplace and some major turning point with respect to those. The 12th house, finally, I've been seeing a lot of just examples lately of the 12th house and seclusion being like the major topic, both as a sometimes a greater need for seclusion and sometimes the helpful or like healing potential sometimes of isolating yourself and going to places of seclusion can be one of actually the benefits of the 12th house, even though seclusion can sometimes have negative connotations as well, like places of seclusion like hospitals or even like prisons.
Yeah. The word that I tend to use for the positive, potentially healing seclusion, is retreat. And I see people going
Mm,
on retreats with big 12th, good 12th house stuff. And I think
nice.
that there's a very nice pairing and contrast to be drawn between like workplace, sixth house, and going on a retreat, or the negative version of a retreat, which is also a 12th house classic, is going to the hospital, which is also, it's outside of the normal flow of life. You're definitely not going to work when you're at the hospital. But sometimes that too is necessary, but it's like out, it's both like a yoga retreat or a meditation retreat, as well as a stay at the hospital or a mental hospital. Like those are those are meaningfully opposed to going to work.
Right. Yeah, and sometimes that being okay and like understanding that there's periods in which you are forced to be less active so that you can heal and get better from something, and going through a period, especially for like highly active people, sometimes going through a period of rest and recovery and retreat can be a little bit foreign to what they're used to, but sometimes necessary in order to eventually reemerge, in good shape.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We need, and also to get perspective, getting outside of your life for a little bit is a really good way to get perspective on what that life is.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah,
And then last thing, go ahead.
no, please go ahead.
I was going to say just last thing about the 12th house is I've seen some real instances of people dealing with mental health issues that were struggling with 12th house things and the importance of getting help when you need it. And I just wanted to really stress that because I've seen some instances of people not getting help when they needed it lately that were struggling with 12th house issues versus talking to people who did get help when they were struggling with 12th house mental health things, and the huge difference that it makes in terms of the constructiveness of getting some help from somebody who actively wants to help you like navigate through those things can make a world of difference.
Yeah, it sure can.
Yeah. All right. Well, that was a bit of an unplanned digression, and we've never done that before, but that was amazing. Thanks for going through that with me because the reason we did that is because that's going to be applying to this entire month, not just the first eclipse where we have the Pisces eclipse in the first 2 weeks of September, but then it also applies to the second 2 weeks of September where we have the Virgo eclipse, which we haven't fully looked at the details of yet, but
Not
everything
yet.
we everything we just said will apply to everyone in a very personal way based on what axis those eclipses fall in.
Yeah, and I think that was a good exercise because you really do want to think about the various exchanges and interrelations and like reciprocal actions that happen on an axis. Because like what happens, think of them as teeter totters, where anything that the eclipses drop on one side will affect and necessitate adjustment on the other. Rather than thinking like, oh, it's an eclipse in Pisces. Well, I will just think about Pisces in that house. Like, yes, it is the Pisces side of the teeter totter, but thinking of it as six planks or interrelated axes or systems is going to get you a much better understanding of what's happening in September.